before there was the Buck Trust, which is hard for anybody to realize there was a time before that. There were 76 nonprofits in Marin County.
By executive directors of nonprofits in Marin. Marion Kelly was at the Volunteer Center. Mike Groza was down at Operation. The Siderman, I'm thinking, was involved in those. Gail Feller, Carol, absolutely. She was one of my board presidents. Veronica Reed, Novale Youth Center, who was also one of my board presidents. Linda Crossman, who was the original founder of Senior Access. They came together to lobby the Board of Supervisors before the Buck Trust came. This process annually to lobby, if you will, for that funding. At the end of that process, we would have what we called the Fiscal Follies. And then we'd have a big party. And Gary came to that party, and we would do singing and dancing, and it was quite an event. And we did that for a number of years until the Buck money came. And those were mostly health and human service organizations. But I remember one of my first meetings with the Marin Council of Agencies was during that process. And we were in one of the schoolrooms. There was a blackboard up in front, and everybody went up and on the blackboard put down how much money they wanted out of this process, out of this $1 million. And it would all add up to more over $1 million, right? And so it was like a come to Jesus meeting, I should say. But anyway, people would walk up and they'd erase their number and lower it a little bit. And then someone else would walk up and, erase their number and lower it a little bit till finally they cooperated. And these are all agencies competing for the same dollars, And they ultimately would go in with a package, not in excess of what the supervisors were able to allocate. And it really was the backbone of the Marin Council of Agencies. Well, it was early collaboration, and then they felt very good about it.
Oh, man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer.
In working with nonprofits, I would hear stories from the founders of what inspired them, how they made it through tough times, and their vision for the future, and I thought, that should be shared with others. I also wanted to thank them for their caring and love, and for our beautiful Marin environment. Initially, the idea was to have a celebration with a photo exhibition. As I was working with Spirit House Productions on the photographs, it became a natural thing to create a documentary, to let founders tell it in their own words. We are grateful for the many people who were willing to be part of this and tell their stories. We have discovered a rich vein of golden memories. We began to be able to put together a patchwork of how nonprofits started in Marin. That is an ongoing effort for the full-length documentary. Our plan is to offer a weekly program focusing on individual nonprofits. The feature-length documentary will include poignant excerpts from those segments, showing the inspiration and endeavors of the work. We hope to encourage other founders to come forward to join what has become an effort to document nonprofit history, to inspire future nonprofit leaders, staff, volunteers, and donors. What follows is a sample of the interviews, and the documentary is a work in progress.
For today, imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die.
I guess our prize student is Barbara Boxer. She was one of the early forum members and went on to become a United States Senator.
Imagine all the people living.
you stand up there and you fight to make sure there's a strong middle class, and you protect a woman's right to choose, and you fight for jobs and a clean environment, all those things, human rights, civil rights, that's a fight worth making.
I saw for the first time the white birds floating on Bolinas Lagoon, and it so captured my imagination that I determined that I would come back when I was older and try and protect it.
We worked on behalf of nonprofits to give them a voice collectively in these matters of tremendous interest and concern to them.
And there was plans for east-west freeway, 8 lanes, to go from San Rafael to Point Reyes. And there was 1.1 million building sites in West Marin, and I wasn't going to let that happen.
I was inspired by just growing up with the mother that I had, who was just enthralled with plants.
Her work as a woman who was in many ways a very simple person was about justice. It was about what would be fair, what we're going to get used to, and that we're all going to have to recognize that this is about the whole human story. This is about the whole human family. And this baby, this boy, and this man who he became has a fundamental right to be there.
Property taxes for homeowners, especially seniors, was very high, and many seniors were having to leave their homes.
We had a call that there was a harbor porpoise stuck outside of San Francisco Airport. And so actually we had to start a rescue, which we did, and we got the animal off the mudflats, and we didn't get stuck ourselves. We had to tear down a big real estate sign off for one of the hotels to use it for a raft to get out there. And so we came back with the animal, and we got it back into the water over at the Coyote Point Yacht Harbor, thanks to the folks over there. We couldn't find a veterinarian or anybody that could come out and respond to the medical issues that it had, and the poor thing died, a month later. Well, that's a life-changing thing.
I know Charles Meacham was one of the first violinists in the San Francisco Symphony and others, and they felt that Marin ought to have its own orchestra.
We need somebody to run this. Does anybody know anyone that loves homeless people?
It's very rewarding, not only the work that you do. I would leave always, and you feel like you've really done something, you've done something great. And Joan especially was amazing at making people feel they were really, really valued. And that's the key to making it, people want to keep on doing it.
Timing is everything when you start something, I have found. And so I told Mary Donovan what I'd like to do, and she said, "Can you start? I've got 40 women that need clothes to go back to work." So I went home and I thought, I do not want to start a nonprofit. I don't want to do that. It's too much work. It's too hard. I don't want to do it. I woke up in the morning and I thought, well, hell, why not?
I went to all the schools in the community center and I said, find me kids who really want to learn to play music and I'll be there for them.
I think the word connection is our real theme and motto. We connect really the county with art, and not just in May, but there's that possibility of we do pop-up exhibits in windows. And now that this county has no Marin Art Council, we are one of the entities that can provide that for the art centers, for this industrial center building, for MoCA, for Artworks downtown, to connect all of Marin.
Well, I am the daughter of one of the founding musicians. My mother, Virginia Ojeda, played the bassoon with the orchestra for 46 years.
What Marty Griffin and others at the ranch recognized was that they needed citizens to be politically active. And what Marty really wanted was to get 3 votes out of 5. And what he wanted were citizens who were educated in environmental issues, who could go and advocate for the environment, because he couldn't do it alone.
What pulled you through?
The night. Yeah, it's just, you know, there's sometimes it feels like a lot. It feels like a huge mountain. And then somebody steps up and helps push it forward a little bit, and then you think, okay, you know, I'm not alone. There's a lot of people here that are supporting this. And so then you take the next day and next steps and you make it happen.
So those are businesses that also serve a social mission. And some of that's going well and some of that not so well, because some of those things can be a little risky. But you know, we're still continuing the original services plus additional services.
So you have to keep track of what your vision and what your goal is, and then make the decisions around that.
It hasn't always been smooth, but the hard parts haven't been too hard. They've been more like growing pains.
The test of whether we're good or not is not when things are going great. It's when things aren't going so good. And so we've had our bumps and challenges and a couple of pretty big ones. And the point is, are we going to be able to work together to solve this issue and move past it?
Everything is really bad at that moment. Physically, there are a ton of reasons why you can't get a job, because you don't have a car, you don't have anything to even get to a place, to get dressed and change. Like, things take time. Like, you need to get clothes so that you can even show up to the job. You need to take a shower, you need to find food and all that.
And yeah, a lot of people associate homelessness with not being human, and that's the number one thing we need. I would have appreciated more empathy, or even just more thought, because that consideration reminds me that I am human.
It is important to be spoken about so that healing can happen. It was a really sad moment of just trying to find self-worth and trying to find who I am and who, you know, not have the title of being homeless. And
youth like Jimmy and other youth were trusting me, making progress, and now would be abandoned again. I used my own savings, had no funding, no team, and just hit the ground running.
There are many different projects that we do in the community, the youth center and the different schools.
I'm just keenly aware of the sense of passion that they must have felt all of those years ago when they founded the orchestra, and how important they felt it to be part of the community. And that's a message that I think we need to trumpet, no pun intended, but loud and clear as we move forward. Then that is what an important part of a community a symphony orchestra is. It's one of these things that people can go in a kind of secular communion together. They can partake in the shared experience of beautiful art and beautiful music.
You know, I think Marin, in particular, when you look at the whole country too, is so forward-thinking in that, and you're seeing a lot of, you know, all the organic movement has been a huge thing for Marin, and has helped a lot of farms stay viable and stay in business and continue to stay in agriculture. People care about where their food comes from here. And to showcase that and say that farming is important to Marin says a lot about our economy and the people who live here and why they live here.
So a group of parents came to me and said, why don't you start another program for these people who are about to be disenfranchised, essentially. So that was the start.
It was in the late 70s. Some NAMI parents came to Buckaroo and Community Mental Health and said, we need a place where our kids can stay maybe for the rest of their life, maybe with 24-hour care. And that was the beginning of what the mental health director, then Beverly Abbott, called residential support services. But it was at the advocacy of the families that really got that program going.
Project that I'm most proud of is the Buck Center for Research and Aging. Okay. That came out of this litigation over the Buck Trust. And that was created as one of what's called a major project that would endure forever.
Marty sees the light. He always sees the light of the impossible task and how he can make it happen. And Marty, if he teaches us anything, he teaches us that we can do it. that we as normal citizens, you know, in every part of the world, if there's something that's important to us to do, we can do it.
We began working at the museum, getting animals in, being brought in by people who found them on the beach.
Our impact is worldwide, and that is something that's just so gratifying when you think of those little harbor seals that came to the doorstep of Boyd Museum 40 years ago, and now what it becomes.
Continue supporting the farmers in every way that you can. If you can even go to one meal a week that you source locally and
shop at the farmers
enjoy
market
with your family at a dinner table instead of eating out or bringing it in, that's the first step. If you can donate or help with the pavilion or volunteer.
It's great to have the organization you founded still in existence.
What inspired you, each of you, in the very beginning to love the environment so much and give your whole lives for it?
Oh, I don't even know that there could be an answer for that. You look around here, and how could you not? We didn't understand profit, so it was de facto a nonprofit. We are all experts in nonprofits. Yes, that was really nonprofit.
Don't give up.
I got hung in effigy at the Civic Center. I was the least popular man in Sonoma County.
You may know that service has been my life's work in many ways. It's near and dear to my heart. Earlier in my career, I helped start a wonderful service organization in Chicago that helped young people pursue careers in public service. I've never been happier in my life than when I was working to build that organization. See, there's a feeling that you get when you help somebody else achieve their goals. The fulfillment of putting your faith into action and feeling that you're part of something bigger than yourself and doing your part for the greater good.
You've been so kind and generous. I don't know, keep on giving. For your kindness, I'm in debt to you. For your selflessness, my admiration. For everything you've done, you know I'm bound to thank you for it.
I had no idea that it would become this big process of discovery, of finding out so much more than what we had even imagined.
I'm hoping that the founders will find ways to get together and come up with a think tank of sorts and become another kind of a force together to lead us into the changes that we need in the nonprofit world. Because just because they're retired doesn't mean that they don't have great ideas still. They still have the same kind of thinking and great ideas they always did.
Great problem solvers, and also I think that they're resourceful in ways, in their creativity. It's a mix of, you know, the wisdom and the experience, and then the new ideas that we have available to us through the generations that are coming up, the new leaders, and the new challenges that we have. So the mix of that, I think, would be very rich. I agree with you. A very rich opportunity.
An intergenerational dialogue.